There is a category of creatures in this world that have been spotted by a few, but whose existence remains unproven. We collectively refer to these creatures as unidentified mysterious animals, abbreviated as UMA. Hello everyone and welcome to the UMA video series. In many cultural legends, giant flying creatures are often seen as demons from the abyss. This has been featured in my previous works, such as the Congamile, the Ropin, the Van Meter monster, and so on. And today's subject was briefly mentioned in the episode about the humanoid bat, the Ahul. Given the completeness and uniqueness of its records, I decided to dedicate an entire video to sharing the story of this mysterious giant bat from Cameroon, the giant bat, the Olitiau. In 1932, British biologist Evan T. Sanderson graduated from Cambridge University. Representing the Linnean Society and the British Museum, he led the Percy Sladen expedition to Cameroon, West Africa, with the aim of exploring, studying, and collecting animal specimens. By 1937, Professor Sanderson, along with his companion, summarized 11 months of observations and experiences in the forests of Cameroon into a book titled Animal Treasure. In Chapter 15, The Bats, he recorded an encounter that is chilling upon reflection. To help you understand better, I have selected and slightly polished the key parts of the text. The story goes like this. At that time, Professor Sanderson's hunting party had expanded to 40 or 50 people and had moved far from the original Mamf camp to their third base in the Asumbo Mountains. By then, they had already collected specimens of several new bat species. On a gloomy evening, they entered a spot where trees formed an archway over a narrow part of the river. After wading downstream for a few minutes, some large fruit bats began flying out from the trees on both sides. The men kept firing, successfully shooting down some bats. One of them fell into the water right at Sanderson's feet. But just as he reached out to grab it, the unexpected happened. Here are Professor Sanderson's original words. I left my gun on a rock and stepped down, trying to catch it before it washed away. Then I stepped on something hard, but before I could react, it suddenly came to life and lunged forward. It was likely a turtle. Soon I was caught in the rapid current and swept into a whirlpool between giant rocks. The bat also vanished. I could only desperately swim and crawl back to my original position. But just then, George suddenly shouted, "Look out!" I followed his gaze and couldn't help but let out a gasp and immediately dove into the water. A black figure, as massive as an eagle, swooped down, diving low, just a few feet above the water, lunging straight at me. Though I only saw its face, it was terrifying enough. Its jaws were wide open, revealing a row of semicircular white fangs, with gaps between the teeth equal to the teeth's width. When I surfaced, the monster had already disappeared. George was facing away from me, firing a second shot. I climbed onto the rock, soaking wet, and our eyes met. Will it come back? We asked in unison. Just as the light faded almost completely, the monster returned. Whizzing down along the river, its teeth chattered, and its massive, vampiric black wings tore through the air, making a swishing sound. This caught us off guard. Our guns weren't even loaded. It lunged straight at George, who quickly ducked to avoid it. The monster skimmed over George's head, then soared into the air, and was instantly swallowed by the night. We scrambled back to the riverbank and found several local hunters waiting to sell their catch. I asked, "What kind of bat is that? With wings like this and completely black?" I spread my arms. "Olitiau." Someone almost screamed. Then they whispered urgently in the Asumbo language. An old hunter asked in the dead silence, "Where did you see that thing?" I pointed towards the river. Then the hunters grabbed their guns in unison, bolted from the camp, and ran toward the village, leaving their hard-earned catch behind. The next day, the old chief suddenly arrived from several camps away with the village council. He looked worried and timidly asked if we had to stay here or if we were interested in the hills further away. We explained that no other place was suitable. The chief looked very sad, and the elders were very uneasy. They returned to the village, leaving us at Camp 3, but we never saw that bat again, nor did we receive any more specimens from the hunters. That was the earliest written record of the Olitiau. In 1970, George, from the story, American naturalist Gerald Russell, met with Professor Sanderson. They compared the descriptions in their diaries, confirming the accuracy of the sighting. In 1972, Professor Sanderson, in his book, Investigating the Unexplained, provided further details on the incident. Here are some excerpts from the book. Giant bats, you must believe me. These things exist. I've seen one, and one European and 2 Africans can testify to it. Many truly shocking events are often forgotten or pushed aside afterward. If I encountered this again tomorrow, I might spend the rest of my life getting to the bottom of it. But when the incident happened in 1932, I seemed to just shrug my shoulders, even though I was there specifically to search for and collect new animal specimens. Gerald Russell stayed with me for a while last autumn. We had a chance to discuss the event, because time can severely distort memory. However, Gerald confirmed that my memory was correct. We measured the river width at that spot. It was about 40 feet, and the creature's wingspan spanned at least 1/3 of the river. From Gerald's view looking downstream, and mine looking upstream, we both felt its position was consistent with the gap between the trees on both banks, judging it to be in the very center of the river. Our diaries state a wingspan of at least 12 feet. The creature's size truly shocked me. There are simply no birds in Africa with such a wingspan. In fact, the only thing that could rival it is the Andean condor. Worse still, I observed its facial features up close. To use a modern joke, that was no ordinary creature. Its lower jaw hung down, revealing white teeth 2 inches long. Its snout was more monkey-like than canine or reptilian. After all, its snout did not have a protruding shape. The creature was coal black, and its wings appeared opaque. It had no visible fur, but on most bats, fur isn't visible until you touch them. The few flight movements I saw, for a speed like that, seemed unusually relaxed, more like the flapping of a fruit bat. When it appeared the second time, we both raised our guns and fired. But the massive thing whizzed past, like a shuttle, making a hissing screech. Its speed was incredible, far exceeding our estimates. That might be why we missed it. Or perhaps, we just punched a few holes in its wide leather-like wings. Later, when we told the chief we had to work there, he became increasingly grave, even offering to provide all the porters for free, so we could go back to the village, or anywhere else we wanted. But when I asked why, he just repeatedly muttered, "Olitiau, Olitiau." Finally, he led his people back to the village. The meaning of the name Olitiau itself is currently unclear, but according to American cryptozoologist George Eberhardt, the word might be Ebola, which is the Ol of the Asumbo language. Ol. I can't pronounce this word. In short, it might be a mistranscription of this word, referring to a dancing mask with feet, usually used to represent demons. But in fact, regarding Epolo, I haven't found a suitable translation site or a vocabulary comparison table. American zoologist Roy Mackal, in his 1980 book, Searching for Hidden Animals, mentioned that he had contacted herpetologist James Powell and carefully read the latter's expedition reports in Cameroon. But Powell stated that he had carefully questioned locals about the Olitiau legend, yet they didn't seem to recognize the word. At the same time, he also stated that this might stem from his mispronunciation. Professor Ivan Sanderson stated more than once in his works that he firmly believed he had seen the ancestor of all bats and remained convinced. Gerald Russell held the same view. Sanderson believed that, including the Ahul sightings, these incidents clearly proved the existence of an uncaptured creature. Firstly, bats are clearly divided into Megachiroptera and Microchiroptera. The former eat fruit and nectar, while the latter eat insects, fish, and small animals. The faces of the Ahul and Olitiau are somewhat sunken, like certain monkeys. This fits the general features of Microchiroptera. The largest member of Microchiroptera is the spectral bat, fearsome in appearance, with a wingspan over 2 feet, but it's a carnivore. So he believed the Olitiau might be a giant member of the Microchiroptera suborder. Cryptozoologist Bernard Heuvelmans, on the other hand, proposed a different opinion. First, he believed that the name Olitiau might be inherently incorrect. Between Professor Sanderson and the local tribe, someone must have misunderstood, or a transcription error occurred. Also, the two men's size estimates might not be accurate. It could have just been a hammer-headed fruit bat. In his 1955 book, On the Track of Unknown Animals, he said, Africa has several types of Megachiroptera bats, but their wingspan never exceeds 4 feet. The largest of these is the hammer-headed fruit bat, but it's actually a completely harmless beast, the least likely creature in the world to swoop down and attack a human. Sanderson's description makes one wonder if the creature that attacked him was the parent or mate of the bat he had just shot. Driven by grief and despair, even the gentlest animal will sometimes perform exceptionally brave acts to avenge a fallen comrade. The hammer-headed fruit bat is the largest bat on the African continent. Hypsignathus monstrosus is the only member of the genus Hypsignathus, widely distributed in West Africa and lowland forests of Central Africa, riverbanks and swamp forests. It mainly feeds on figs, mangoes, and other fruits. Currently, the largest known wingspan is about 1 meter, but this is still a huge gap from the 12 feet, or roughly 3.7 meters mentioned in Sanderson's text. Moreover, the hammer-headed bat has a giant head, thick, protruding lips, and doesn't really resemble a monkey face. Also, its body is brownish-gray, not pure black. Professor Heuvelmans mentioned this in his text as well. Furthermore, the local sphere suggests that the Olitiau has aggressive tendencies, which is unlikely for a beast that only feeds on fruit. Large bats are usually gentle and non-aggressive. Only small bats hunt live prey and show ferocity. This doesn't match the descriptions of the giant and terrifying Olitiau. If it truly is a bat, it must belong to a completely unknown and extraordinary species. Or perhaps it's not a bat at all. Synthesizing the above information, my personal opinion is that the Olitiau likely belongs to the category of possible existences. However, it might not be an undiscovered new species, though some of Sanderson's views are controversial in the academic world, accused of being sensationalist or exaggerated. After reading the original Animal Treasure, with its diary-like narrative style, I tend to believe he didn't deliberately fabricate it. Besides, his testimony was cross-verified by another scholar, Russell. I favor the giant fruit bat misidentification theory. Reviewing the whole incident, we find that the only one to face the Olitiau head-on was Professor Sanderson, alone. The flight speed was described as unbelievable. In those split seconds of terror, even the most objective observers' senses might suffer significant errors. More importantly, Sanderson himself later, in his 1955 book, Living Mammals of the World, wrote this: among all fruit bats, the most amazing are the West African fruit bats. They roost in caves and feed on fruit, but for some unknown reason, they always love to dive into the water to forage. Therefore, we can't even determine if the Olitiau's dive was truly intended as an attack. If we set aside the premise of a deliberate attack, then a giant fruit bat passing close by coincidence, mouth agape, revealing its teeth, would be enough to terrify anyone. The Olitiau likely was an already known species of large bat, seen by two scholars by chance. From a specific startling angle, it frightened them. Subsequently, in their descriptions, its size was exaggerated, leading locals to believe they had seen a demon. A legend of misidentification, coincidence, and cultural symbols. And Kasu, the UMA legend of the Olitiau, was born. Of course, this is just my personal speculation. Whether it's an undiscovered large flying animal or a mythical giant bat, like the Amazonian kamazats, the controversy sparked by the Olitiau's flight continues to this day. It may never be proven, but the descriptions from different cultures and different witnesses are perhaps its true significance. Acknowledging these mysteries is itself a form of respect for the unknown. All right, finally, as always, the unknown is always greater than the known. That is the charm of That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.